Hey,
Hey,
Bonnie.
Brian. Hi, good to see you. Greetings from Toronto, where
Yeah,
brought
great.
this film to TIFF. How was that
Yep.
experience?
Oh no, it was good. It's a lot of fun. It's always, I always feel like an imposter at those things. So, um,
Come on,
uh, what's that?
come on,
Yeah.
please. I mean, listen,
No,
Brian.
I do. To this day, I'm very comfortable writing, and I'm super comfortable on set and making the movie and doing all that stuff. But when uh, when it comes time to promote it and get interviewed, it's like it just feels like I said, I'm an imposter, but
Well,
I'm
no,
happy
you
to
aren't.
be
Listen, we met, some odd 20 years ago for still one of my all-time favorite films. I spoke to you for A Knight's Tale. I can never
right.
listen to Golden Years without ever thinking about that movie. Honestly, I still love it to death. And now we come full circle because you wrote Finestkind like just almost about 30 years ago, and you had Heath Ledger, God rest his soul, in mind for this. What why did you bring it to the forefront now? Why was now the right time to bring this movie to us?
Yeah, it goes back to Heath. Heath read it and wanted to play the. I sent it to him to play the younger brother. He was 21 at the time or 22, whatever. Like he's a comet,
Yeah.
and he said, he wanted to play the older brother. And I said, you're too young to play the older brother. And he said, wait for me. And I said, all right, I'll wait for you. And the bad joke is I'm still waiting. And
Yeah.
when he died, I kind of, the desire to make the movie kind of died with him for me. And it just sat collecting dust for a long time. And a friend of mine, Gary Foster, who produced the film, kept bugging me about it, saying, we got to try to make this. It's a great script and blah, blah, blah. And just finally, years later, I decided to try to get it going. And for whatever reason, its time finally came. I mean, the joke is I wrote it before Jenna Ortega was born.
Okay,
So
right. See, it's good to
everything
wait
happened.
sometimes, right? It's good to
I
wait.
lost I lost Heath, but I needed Jenna, but she hadn't been born yet, so I had to wait.
So there you go. But listen, this story is so obviously personal to you. You grew up, you did fishing, your family, your dad, and I'm looking at this, I'm watching this, and I'm going, oh my God, you've assembled this phenomenal cast, but I'm getting seasick watching it because I'm not good on the water. Tell me a little bit about how you got your cast to prepare because there's no CG really on the water. Oh my goodness, I would be puking overboard the whole time.
Yeah. There's all that water you see is real water. Sometimes we were out 70 miles offshore, but it had a couple of things going for it. And one is that I had done that when I got out of college. I was a commercial fisherman for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So it's the only movie I ever did that I was also the technical advisor on, basically. And we didn't have a lot of time, so I knew these guys had to get familiar with what they were doing and familiar with standing on a rocking boat and the gear that they have to deal with because we didn't use stunt doubles for that. So I sent everyone out basically on a boot camp. Ben went first in February out to sea.
Wow.
Like, I think the smallest the seas were about 10 to 12 feet. So he went on a real rock and roll trip out there. And then Toby and the rest of the guys went out a couple of weeks before we started shooting, but for a week to sea on a real commercial fishing boat where they were expected to work and they were not coddled at all. A friend of mine from back in those days was the captain of the boat, and he took them out. And he said, how bad do you want me to treat him? I said, treat him as bad as, I don't mean bad, but I go,
You know,
just treat them like they're shackers, we call them. When you haven't had the experience, you're labeled a shacker, and that's how you're referred to, and you have to work your way up. So they were all shackers. So, but they learned how to fish and they learned how to do all that stuff. So it made it much easier to shoot when it came time to shoot.
amazing. And, like I said, this cast is so fantastic, but you get somebody like a Tommy Lee Jones who, I've interviewed many times and he doesn't suffer fools. You got to have the right, like that man can be a curmudgeon when he wants to be, but thank God I've been okay with him. But, was
Yeah.
it easy to get him on board? Did you have to coax him in any way?
Well, the only thing was is he had to his character in the script wasn't originally written as being from Texas. And that was, I spoke to him on the phone. I hadn't met him. It was the first time I ever spoke to him. And he said, why am I there? I'm from Texas. I'm not going to play Massachusetts.
Right.
I'm playing Texas. And it was basically like, if you can't convince me, I'm not doing it. But the great thing about that town is it's a huge commercial fishing port. It's the #1 money port in the United States. And guys who know how to fish come from all over the states to do it because they're making money.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of guys from down south that were in New Bedford when I was fishing. And I pitched that to him and said, you started out as a shrimp fisherman in Galveston, Texas. And I knew all about that stuff. And he knew about it too. And he started quizzing me about it. And he finally said, but why would I come to Massachusetts? And I said, because the price of scallops is about 50 times the price of shrimp. And he said, okay, I'll do it. But I had to prove I knew what I was talking about. But that's how I got him. I got him because I knew the difference between fish prices.
Amazing, amazing. Just to wrap it up, Brian, I got to ask you, because you have given us so many great films. Your scripts are always so great. I mean, Mystic River, another one of my favorite all-time films. How do you decide what you want to give up your baby to have somebody else direct? Or, I mean, clearly this one is very personal to you, so I couldn't see anybody else directing. But how is it to give up a script to somebody else?
Yeah, I've worked with great directors, and all through my career, from Curtis Hanson, Richard Donner, Tony Scott, Clint, Paula Greengrass, and I've done more than one film with all those guys. You just find a collaborator that knows how to do it better than you know how to do it. And I'm always about the director in a way. And I've just been really lucky working with, I've never thrown my pearls before swine. So I've been really lucky with these guys, especially, Clint and who always knew where to put the camera, and Tony, who lived and breathed everything he was doing. I did Man on Fire with him, and I couldn't have directed that movie like he did if I had 10 years to do it. So I've been really lucky that way.
Well, stop cutting yourself so short. You're a phenomenal director too, and you've done such an amazing job with this one. It's so fantastic. Always love talking to you, Brian. Thank you so much for your time today, and happy holidays to you.
All right, you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.